Now, the first bit that I wanted to talk about is the video evidence of the Georgia Ballot Counting Center video footage. This has been going viral all over the internet, and this, again, can we watch the video quickly before we cover it?
Okay, so I think what we can do now is fast forward to about 11. Do you see it?
Hang on a sec, John, it's really fast.
They're walking off.
Oh,
but the ladies in yellow are still there.
Right, okay.
Yes, keep your eyes on the lady in purple and the two in yellow, and the woman in the blue apron with blonde braids, because those are the people who stay behind. Okay, so what you're going to see happen at about 11 o'clock is, once everyone is gone, coast is clear, they're going to pull ballots out from underneath a table. Watch this table. So actually this will take a few minutes, but we did not know when we first watched this, okay, is it normal to store suitcases of ballots under a tablecloth? Is that how they run the place? Maybe this is what they've been doing all day. Maybe this is what they're doing under all the tables. So we went back and watched the videos of a team of us. We don't see that. What we see is typically you're going to find ballots, back in this corner, or coming into a door, and then they get moved and circulated throughout the room. And it can get a little confusing because they have used black containers of ballots, they have U.S. Postal Service containers. But what we're trying to do when we determined that there were ballots being pulled out from underneath this table is, what was the chain of custody? Where did it come from? Who put them there? When did they put them there? We only reviewed this at about 1 in the morning last night for a couple of hours, so we're going to need about 14 hours to watch it carefully because we fast-forwarded through it several times and could not find that particular frame, but here's what we can tell you for sure. At about 8 o'clock in the morning, we're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table. This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. So the same person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting, is the person who put the table there at 8:22 in the morning. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. Yeah, upper right hand, you see the gentleman in the red. So he just pulled one out. So what are these ballots doing there, separate from all the other ballots? And why are they only counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses? Is the question. So these machines can process about 3,000 ballots an hour. You have multiple machines there, and they're there for 2 hours. So you do the math. How many ballots went through those machines in those 2 hours when there was no one there to supervise, to be present, consistent with your statute and rules, to supervise the tabulation? We believe that could easily be, and probably is certainly, beyond the margin of victory in this race.
Right. So this, if you couldn't quite understand the woman talking at the particularly high rate, she's saying that after the poll watchers had left and after the ballots had apparently been counted, as say the group of 4 or so had stayed behind, and then from under a table that appears to be covered with a cloth or something, they pulled out boxes of ballots and continued counting with no witnesses. I can't verify that that's true or not, obviously, because I have no access to it. But sorry, I've misarranged these, John. There's a claim that this is being rebuffed by a PBS report, that this is normal processing. Sorry, it's the next one after this. Yeah, this one. So they say that state and county officials, including investigators for the Secretary of State's office, said that the video clip making the rounds shows the normal tabulation process. No monitors were told to leave, but Republican monitors and members of the media left when some election employees called cutters wrapped up for the night. Georgia law spells out I'm not going to go into the details, you can find that for yourself, but Georgia law spells out the rules for partisan poll watchers, allowing them to be present and monitor aspects of the election process, but having monitors there is not required, and in fact, Democrats did not have monitors present at that time. So that's actually concerning, in my opinion. If all of the poll watchers have gone, I mean, okay, the law doesn't say they have to be there, but I mean, like the woman was saying in the very high-speed video, what's the guarantee of what was the phrase she used? I can't remember how she framed it. Just the process, the guarantee of the process to know what the how the ballots have been handled and how secure that is. I mean, where did these come from? Why are there no poll watchers there? Why is that okay? Why was this done after the poll watchers had left? It raises questions. But as for the so-called suitcases full of ballots allegedly removed under the table, it was empty, says the state's investigator. That wasn't a bin that had ballots in it under the table, says Francis Watson. It was an empty bin, and the ballots from it were actually put out on the table when the media was still there. And then it was placed back into the box when the media was still there, placed next to the table. Well, I guess if he says so, that must be the case. Furthermore, election officials say that there was nothing abnormal about the tabulation of ballots shown in the video. What the video shows is that they've pulled out plastic bins from underneath the desk. desk. It was normal processing that occurred there, as Gabe Sterling from the state explained this morning. Sterling, the state's voting system implementation manager, said that the investigators for the state watched the full surveillance video from Election Day, and those bins of ballots were already there and accounted for early in the day, while both monitors and the media were there. Well, again, I mean, it's his word against the word of people watching the video footage. I don't know whether that's the case. But if we can go to the video of the alleged USB handoff and watch this one, again, it just really looks suspicious. And I believe I believe this one was Detroit, but let's watch it. So you can see that she looks like she's kind of hiding it in her hand, just holding it by the chair. She's acting a little weird. He stretches, and then it appears to be out of her hand. Looks really suspect. Just looks suspicious. Don't know what to tell you. In the wake of this footage, though, Rudy Giuliani has filed a new lawsuit in Georgia, saying that the footage said that he says the ballots from the Georgia one had been hidden under the table until GOP poll watchers are no longer present, and so this is another case for another lawsuit. We'll see how that pans out. I imagine that the judge will just say, "Well, this is a conspiracy theory. Get out." But what happens when you have people who just come out and say, like the Indian woman at the Michigan hearing, I think it was, the other day, where she was saying, well, I committed the fraud. What do you have then? Do you just tell them, no, you didn't? Like, I don't know what to tell you. You know, it strikes me as being strange, especially when another person has come out and said, hi, I committed fraud. Like, there's this chap here who claims to have driven thousands of ballots across state lines. This is Jesse Morgan, a truck driver, and he told his story at a press conference. He said that the estimate is that somewhere between 144,000 ballots and 288,000 ballots, estimated from the number of boxes of ballots that he took, were taken across state lines. He said, I drive a tractor trailer for a US Postal Service as a subcontractor. I drive a route from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Bethpage, New York, Pennsylvania, and back to Lancaster. On October the 21st, I arrived for my usual route for Bethpage. An expediter made 3 references to ballots that were to be loaded into my trailer, saying, hey, you have ballots today. He recalled receiving 24 boxes full of ballots stacked on top of each other. He saw that envelopes had handwritten return addresses. They were complete ballots. I didn't think much of it at the time, he says. When he arrived in Harrisburg, he was not allowed to offload the mail. I was made to wait for roughly 6 hours from 9:15 a.m. to nearly 3 p.m. All of this was weird, Morgan said. After waiting 6 hours, he went inside to see the expediter. I was told to wait for the transportation supervisor, an official Morgan had never dealt with. He's a top guy. He's the kind of guy who would speak to my boss. The supervisor told me to drive to Lancaster without being unloaded in Harrisburg. I knew the ballots were loaded for Harrisburg. I also recalled asking for his ticket, the slip that shows he arrived, and a late slip to prove he had been delayed. The supervisor refused to give him the slip. I then drove to Lancaster, unhooked my trailer in its normal place, then drove my truck to where I always park it. The next day, it just got weirder. As I arrived at Lancaster, my trailer was gone, not there anymore. Since I started driving the Bethpage route, the trailer I've always had the trailer 10R1440. What happened on October the 21st was a series of unusual events that cannot be a coincidence. I know I saw ballots with return addresses filled out, thousands of them, thousands, loaded onto my trailer in New York, headed for Pennsylvania. As things became weirder, I got to thinking and wondered why I was driving complete ballots from New York to Pennsylvania. I didn't know why, so I decided to speak up. And someone from the Amistad Project, who are looking into this independently, said that this matches up perfectly on how you would expect fraudulent ballots to be inserted into the system. So, I mean, what are we is this guy just some liar, just this truck driver who just has a regular route, who's been told he had ballots? He didn't really have ballots. He didn't really have a trailer attached to him. He didn't really lose that trailer and just hasn't seen it since. What are we saying? Are we saying that he's just a liar? Why would he be doing that? Is he being paid? Like, we have to explain why this guy has come out and said, hi, I committed voter fraud. Again, like these appear to be regular people who are just doing a regular job, who have realized that actually this is weird. This is not the normal process. What's going on? But then we come to Dominion vote flipping allegations. Now, I again haven't been able to confirm any of these things, but I just want to tell you about these things just so you are informed that at very least the allegations are here. So as far as I'm aware, the initial claim has come from Rob Hurst, who's an accountant in Ware County, Georgia, and he supports Donald Trump. And he tweeted out that using sequestered Dominion equipment, Ware County ran an equal number of Trump and Biden votes through the tabulator, and the tabulator reported a 26% lead for Biden. 37 Trump votes were used in the equal sample that had been switched from Trump to Biden. In actual algorithmic terms, this means that a vote for Trump counted as 87% of a vote, and a vote for Biden counted as 113% of a vote. So this is the weighting that they're talking about. And this was reported on by a local Georgia paper under the title, Trump legal team witnessed allege that Ware County audit results revealed Dominion machines flipped ballots from Trump to Biden. The chap was called, I think it was George Favoritino? Favoritio? I don't know. There are lots of weird surnames in America that I can't pronounce. But Favorito, obtained an email from Ware County Election Supervisor Carlos Nelson confirming that the audit had discovered 37 votes that had been incorrectly assigned to Biden instead of Trump. In an interview, he explained that the information didn't indicate that the machine had necessarily flipped votes, just that a mistake occurred, and they found this out by doing a hand recount. We didn't find out that they'd flipped the votes. We didn't have to obtain the machine to figure that out. The hand recount said that they'd flip the votes. So, I mean, I can't confirm or deny this, but I think this is an important allegation that, again, is not being widely reported on. Moving on, a judge in Antrim County in Michigan has ordered election officials to preserve the election records and not turn on the Dominion systems, presumably just in case there's some kind of software that instructs it to do something. This is reported by the Daily Wire. A Michigan judge has ordered Antrim County election officials to preserve all the election materials and refrain from operating any of the county's Dominion voting machines ahead of what will be a forensic audit by the Trump campaign. Kevin Eisenheimer issued the order on Friday, and after a county resident challenged the elections based on a mishap that awarded Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden thousands of illegitimate votes. This happened a couple of weeks ago now, I think, but this is an interesting follow-on from that. And so this is something that's good news for the Trump campaign. As reported by NTD in the next one, the Trump team is going to be able to examine the Michigan voting machines. The judge has allowed a forensic audit. The same judge has allowed a forensic audit of 22 Dominion machines in Antrim County. And Jenna Ellis told Fox News that they're going to examine the machines for about 8 hours on Sunday. So they'll get the results in about 2 days. So that should be essentially today or tomorrow that we should have these results. So I'd be very, very interested in seeing what happens to the Dominion voting machines in Michigan. This seems very important. And as reported on lotuseaters.com, which is why you should go to our website, Josh has a report up there about Dominion having received apparently $400 million from people with ties to China. So, as he reports, the US Securities and Exchange Commission has filed a report stating that Dominion Voting Systems received a payment of $400 million from a Swiss bank account with ties to the Chinese Communist Party. The payment was made to Staple Street Capital, a middle-market private equity firm based in New York, who acquired Dominion Voting Systems in 2018. The payment was made by UBS Securities LLC, who are a subsidiary company of the Swiss investment bank UBS. Now, as you can see, we've already got layers upon layers of things, and I can't remember the name. I can't remember who it was that alleged that these sort of shell company games are being played in order to obfuscate the trail of where money goes and where it ends up. But someone made that allegation the other day, and I think this is essentially a kind of proof of what they're suggesting, because it seems that that's the case. Despite UBS Securities being a New York-based company, 3 of the 4 board members are Chinese, and one of them has worked for the Chinese Communist Party's central bank, the entirely government-owned Bank of China. UBS is also the first foreign bank to be provided with fully licensed security ventures in China, an otherwise heavily regulated financial market. The facilitator of this deal was Wang Qishan, the former mayor of Beijing, who is viewed as the most financially competent Communist Party official. UBS is one of a collection of Western banks which has previously been known to act as a middleman in setting up companies on and trusts on behalf of officials of the Chinese Communist Party. It is generally believed that this is done to conceal the original owner's wealth. The SEC filing shows that Dominion Voting Systems received two payments, $400 million this October and $200 million in 2014, another election year, both from the New York-based subsidiary. And recently, on December the 6th, in fact, 12 of the 15 board of directors of UBS have resigned, which is strange. Interesting timing, isn't it? So there is, again, more evidence that would suggest, including people who are admitting fault in this regard, that not all is as above board as it would look. And this, I think, is, again, just more evidence on the pile that something fishy happened. I can't prove anything. I can't categorically state this happened or that happened. But if I was to be asked, what are my thoughts on it? What are my inclinations? What do I suspect? Yeah, I don't think it looks good for the Democrats. And if I was a Democrat, if I was on the side of the people who are being accused, and I notice there is zero allegations that the Trump campaign cheated. Zero. Like, I have yet to see one allegation against the Republicans that they're responsible for any kind of cheating or fraud or anything like that. But if I was a Democrat and I was, if I was a good faith person acting, I voted or was a part of the Democratic Party, or I voted for the party, or I was one of the politicians that's running and has been elected, I would want an investigation to clear my name at this point. It is too many people who are just outright think that this has been stolen, and the legitimacy of the election, just on the sheer scale of the number of people who find it to be illegitimate or believe it's illegitimate, demands an investigation into what's happened. If everything came back and it was like, no, actually there's a reasonable reason for all of these things. I know it all looked bad, but we went through it with a fine-tooth comb, both Republicans and Democrats, and the judges all certified it. Right, everything came along. Yeah, fine. Fair enough. Joe Biden just happened to be the most popular presidential candidate in all of history, as unlikely as that seemed. But if that's what the evidence had shown, after a thorough investigation, that both sides would have surely supported, then that's fine. But when one side doesn't want any kind of investigation at all, and they're being accused of all of these things, and there are a bunch of witnesses, and there are a bunch of anomalies, and a bunch of, really suspicious things that have happened, I wasn't born yesterday, And this was the ethos that Rudy Giuliani was putting forward initially in his filing, saying, look, this is a corrupt Democrat machine in these deep blue areas that has been operating like this for years. And on the ground, I bet the people, the sort of nose to the ground sort of people like Rudy Giuliani is, they know it. They think they can prove this. But in a court, when it comes to defining, clear-cut evidence and things like this, a lot of this stuff is more difficult to prove because you need to be able to get access to stuff. And if the judges won't even let you bring the case and just call you conspiracy theories for raising it, well, again, it doesn't look good, does it?